What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 19 of Tsunami Speaks with, of course, your host, Tsunami Jones. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, tell a friend, all that jazz. That's how we'll continue to grow this channel and keep making headway towards 500 subscribers one day and beyond. So, guys, we're here. Week 7, game day is right around the corner. The Jets announced that we're running it back with the white jersey and the black pants yet again. And I'll be rocking it, rocking my Sauce jersey again. I've been doing it for the last 3 weeks, I believe, on game day. So I am incredibly pumped to do my part, as well as I'm sure all you guys have your own game day rituals and doing the same thing every time. Our New York Jets are 4-2 and visiting the Denver Broncos in their house at 4 p.m. on Sunday Eastern Time. And we'll be going for our fourth straight win in a damn row. Are you kidding me? Wow. I just, whoo, the vibes are immaculate, right? Regardless of what's going on with that guy over there, Elijah Moore. We left him behind in Jersey, right? And we're going to Denver. That actually is going to probably help us. At least that's the way I'm looking at it. I'm going to stop and smell the damn flowers right now and just enjoy the fact that we're here and a New York team. Well, there's two New York teams, of course, that are balling out right now, but our New York Jets are streaking right now. What a better feel. What better feeling is there? I can't even can't articulate it right now. It's wonderful. And we're second in the division right now, and we could possibly be the division leader for the bye week. I know I'm looking ahead a little bit, but I'm just saying we're at that point right now in our season, and it's early still. The New York Jets are doing that. I don't think Tyreek Hill thought this was something that was possible for us to do. But enough about him, right? We don't care about what he does or what he says, right? Let's just effing go. This team is not going to let the Elijah Moore drama get to us. Like I said, we've got much bigger fish to fry right now. Or I guess horse? Ew. With that said, we're going to head on to the injury report to do some discussion. The injury report is actually very interesting. I'm going to knock on wood before I say anything about the Jets so y'all can relax. So the Jets right now on IR have George Fant and Max Mitchell and Mekhi Becton. No shade at my guy. I'm a Becton fan. I know I'm one of like what 15 Jets fans that actually support my guy, but I just forgot about him for a second. Anyway, that happened so long ago. That's all we have on IR right now. The players that are out are Jermaine Johnson, as everybody should recall, he has that ankle injury. And the other player that's out is Elijah Moore, and what has him ailing right now are his feelings. Hopefully he will be able to figure out his future next week. We'll see if that injury has healed itself. As far as questionable players right now, we have Ashton Davis with a hammy. That just came that just became news on Friday or this morning or really, really late last night, whatever you call it. I don't even know what time it is right now, y'all. It's like 2 o'clock. And I am making this video for y'all because I love y'all and I love doing this. So anyway, so he has a hamstring. They said he's a game time decision. He didn't, I don't believe he played today, or Friday, whatever. So as far as the Broncos go, I'm gonna just recap what their IR situation is, and I'm gonna do that for every team going forward because we don't know everybody's IR. Some people are on IR for months and months and months. Case in point, what I was discussing earlier, right? So going to the Broncos, they have Aaron Patrick, linebacker, Garrett Bowles, tackle, Ronald Darby, corner, Randy Gregory, linebacker, Javante Williams, starting running back, and Tim Patrick, another one of those really good running wide receivers that the Broncos had. So they were already out. I think Javante was like the most recent addition to the IR. If not, it might have been Ronald Darby, actually. But anyway, probably the most notable name on that list that was added recently. As far as players that are already out, they only have one that's confirmed out. That's Essen Bassi, who is a corner for them. Looks like he's like third or fourth string, something along those lines. Uh, Hayden Sturms, one of their backup free safeties, he's doubtful. He did not practice on Friday. Now, their questionable section is what really has me intrigued, I'll say. I don't like any teams having injuries, by the way, guys. It's not a deal like that. I'm just saying I was surprised to see all of these names listed here. DJ Jones, he has an ankle injury. He's defensive tackle, if you guys are not aware. Believe he used to play for the 49ers. He was actually somebody that the Jets were interested in free agency. I remember hearing that, but Broncos grabbed him pretty quickly. Anyway, he was limited on Friday. Delshawn Williams, um, he has a back injury. Backs are interesting. As a person that's had back injuries, I understand. We'll see what ends up happening with him. He's the defensive end, and he did not practice at all on Friday. Quinn Menieres, I think that's how you say that. He has a foot injury. He's their right guard, and he was limited on Friday. Josie Jewell has a knee injury. He's their inside linebacker. He was limited on Friday. And lastly, Mr. Limited himself, Russell Wilson, has been limited all week long with a hamstring. I believe we found that out like right after the game. But we'll see how that actually ends up happening for them. As far as the what does this mean portion of this, for the second week in the row, here's me knocking on wood, the Jets are the healthier team going into a game. Might be the third week in a row because I think the Dolphins, yeah, third week. It's still, oh, it's interesting to me. I'm not used to this. I'm glad the Jets are in this kind of a place, but that doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. I'm just glad to be on this side of it going into a game. That is all I'm saying on that. Um, as for the Broncos portion of this, they're certainly going to be hurting without DJ Jones. He's very good. He's a run stuffer. Y'all, they need him, especially going against a team like our team who is, I'll say, very proficient at running the football. With Brees Hall and Michael Carter and stuff like that. Anyway, and then their offensive line was already kind of reeling coming into it. They lose another starter in Quinn Menieres that I mentioned earlier. It's going to hurt too. You don't want to lose offensive linemen, especially for a quarterback who's already ailing, right? So Russell Wilson, like I said, is kind of another story. Per the head coach, he's a game time decision. Their backup is Brett Ripien, and they said that he would be the next one up. But they do also have Josh Johnson. I don't know if you guys remember him. Obviously, he used to be the our backup. I think he was our third string. And then when Zach got hurt, and then who got hurt after that? I believe it was Mike White got hurt in that Colts game. That's right. It happened on the first drive after he threw a touchdown. Josh Johnson came in after that, and he actually played pretty well. He had a lot of yards. But anyway, that being said, he knows our offense, so I'm not too enthralled with the fact that he's their backup. So he might play. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there's a gamesmanship element to this. With Nathaniel Hackett, we all have seen how Nathaniel Hackett has been in his game time decisions or his in game decisions, not so much the day to day decisions. I really can't speak to that. I don't really follow the Broncos, but so much because no. Uh, I just watch them in primetime games since they've been on TV so damn much, and they have not been fun to watch. Oh, moving on. Russell Wilson's completion percentage right now is at a career low of 58.6, and he's trending towards a career low of passing touchdowns at 5 and passing yards at 1442. I mean, obviously, 6 games in, so things could turn around for them. I don't look down on any competition, especially with our team, just due to what we've dealt with over the years. So you just don't know. But that said, due to that and the lack of rapport that he seems to have with their offensive options and the limited mobility that he obviously is going to have with a hamstring injury. Even though he ran the ball pretty well, I was watching on Monday, but I guess that's how he ended up hurting himself. Anyway, that said, be okay if he played. I'm not saying that he's not going to be otherworldly. He could probably, I know he has that gear in there, but I'm just not as frightened as I probably could be there. Um, Now the last time we played Brett Ripien, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It might be Ripien. He had 3 picks, but 2 touchdowns, and the Broncos won that game. That was in 2020. But I'd say our defense now is far better than it was in 2020. Let's Sauce get at him. I like our chances. So, or I mentioned Sauce. Let Big Quinnen get at him. I like our chances there too. So we'll see. Like I said, my preference would probably be to just play Russell Wilson because we've game planned for him. We, kind of know what to expect and all that. When it comes to backups, it is a little bit of a wild card. But we saw how we played against Skylar Thompson. So I believe in this team. I believe in this defense for sure. So either way, let's get at him. Let's go. So moving on to the keys to the win. I have less keys here. My last video was a little long, to be quite honest, so I'm gonna try and shorten it. Plus, I don't want to keep using the same stuff over and over for my keys. I don't want you to think I'm becoming so formulaic. That said, my first key is going to be manage penalties. I know I mentioned that in the last video, but I think it's worth noting because the last game we still had quite a few penalties. So we're currently averaging 73 yards per game on penalties. The Broncos average 81 yards per game in penalties. So I'm glad there's a team that's actually outgaining us in penalties and is just as undisciplined and maybe even reckless. Not trying to throw shade at them. It's just, depends on how you see penalties than we are. So when the Broncos played the Chargers, they actually had 10 penalties and they gave up 151 yards from those penalties. It was kind of wild. If they do that again, that's going to be a huge edge to us. But I still would like the Jets to get this a bit under control. I don't want the refs to see us as a team that is hyper aggressive and makes mistakes because then when you kind of have a reputation for that, then they're just quicker to draw the flag out. So that's like a key. I remember like with the Rex Ryan Jets, we at times we were just so aggressive that we did get a lot of penalties and it would hurt us, even though we had a fantastic defense. So just something I'm thinking about and something that I'm a little bit concerned about. And I think we can continue to grow on that and get better. My next key is for us to run the damn ball. That's another ode to Rex Ryan there. I think he's got the right idea here. Broncos are 13th in the NFL as far as giving up rushing yards. They're averaging 105.3. Teams are averaging 105.3 rushing yards per game against them. They're 5th in the NFL in their passing defense as far as like passing yards given up. They have a Pro Bowl corner in Pat Surtain, Pro Bowl free safety in Justin Simmons. I respect them both highly. And at this moment we're averaging 111 rushing yards per game. That said, you're going to look at what's their weakness. Their weakness is going to be and maybe not weakness, but what are they worst at between those two because they're very good. And that's going to be um they're they're worst at rushing the ball or defending the run. Sorry, stopping the run. No, I was struggling to say that. Anyway, you guys get the point. So with that being their weakness, we need to exploit it like any team, like a Bill Belichick team. We need to run the ball down their effing throat. And that's something that we excel at with Brees Hall and Michael Carter, with this offensive line that's starting to get more and more push. That's what we need to be doing. And especially if they're down DJ Jones, like I mentioned, if they don't have him, that's one less person to stop. And Reese has been taking cats with him when he's running. He's bouncing off cats. And then we already knew that Michael Carter was doing that before. Michael Carter would never go down with the first tackle. Well, not never, but rarely ever did. This is our strength. We need to kill it. So that's what I would love us to do. And I think if we run the damn ball, have those long drives that we're looking for, I think we're going to excel, or just from the aspect of wear them down. Moving on, I would like us to create turnovers. Now Melvin Gordon is back. If you watched the game, you saw Melvin Gordon appeared to be benched, and then there was the interview, and in the interview, he was saying, "I'm not hurt, I'm fine." I don't know why I didn't play. They were using Latavius Murray. Latavius Murray, dude who used to be really good for, well, was pretty solid for the Raiders for a little while. He's moved around. I think he had a cup of coffee with the Saints. I think he had a cup of coffee with the Ravens and probably some other teams that I don't remember. He's just moved around. So, not the same guy. I think Melvin Gordon is better than him. And it looks like Melvin Gordon is back to being the starting running back. Him and Pickett had a discussion and worked it out. That said, even though I promise you that Melvin Gordon is the better back, Melvin Gordon does have a penchant for fumbling the ball at inopportune times. With that being a problem for him, I would like our linebackers to punch the ball out with one of those bone crushing hits, one of those Quan hits, one of those Quincy hits, and they're gonna come and they're gonna bring the wood on those hits. So why not jut the ball out? That's the guy to do it to. Just saying. And I think that's something that we have an opportunity to, not even an opportunity, we need to do that, especially since that's like a problem for him. The Broncos are 13 in the NFL with just 7 turnovers. So this isn't something that they do regularly. So we're going to have to force something in order to win this game, in my opinion. And we're going to need those turnovers to create short field for Zach Wilson to score some effing points because we're going against a team that's a very stingy defense. And highest amount of points they've given up this season was 32 points. And they gave that up to the Raiders. And aside from that, or even not even aside from it, if you actually average out all the points that they've given up and give you the per game, it's 16 and a half points, including that 32-point game. 16 and a half. That's wild to me. I Even though the Broncos have been losing these games, their defense is not the problem. It's not. So we're going to have to get those short fields and score whatever points we can. Have to. It's imperative that we do so. Um, and side note, in that Raiders game that I mentioned at the Raiders won, they gave up a turnover that led to points. So tying that all together, we need to create some turnovers so we can have the advantage that we need. Let's see here. So the next one is going to be we need to get in the damn red zone. And when we do get there, we need to score points, preferably touchdowns. This kind of goes hand in hand with the last key, but it's mandatory that we score points. We have to, especially if we can help this defense play with a lead. Because if our defense can play with a lead, then we can really pin our hair back and really get after the quarterback. We need to get after Russell Wilson, especially if he has a hamstring injury and he's immobile. A sitting duck Russell Wilson? That's what we want. So I don't care if the Jets run in the red zone or pass into it. I know we've been rushing the ball in the red zone mostly. I remember the last drive in the Packers game. We tried so hard to run it in and we were unable to. We ended up kicking. That one kind of broke my heart, just to be honest, with that entire drive, because that was one where Zach could have really just used the touchdown. You know, maybe being selfish for the kid, but for his numbers, for his stats, for his confidence, all that stuff is important. But we didn't get that. Now in this game, I don't care if Zach's numbers look putrid or not. Did we win though? I'll tell you, if we did win though, it means that we got in the red zone. So we need to keep this going. One cool thing though about the Jets is we're actually tied for 8th in the NFL in red zone scoring percentage. That's a thing. And we're at 63.16. So we've actually been doing pretty well when we do get in the red zone. That's probably due to all those fourth quarter comebacks that we've had. We have been cashing it in once we get there in that quarter. And last game we did it in the third quarter. So we're learning, we're getting better. But with that said, we're going to have to convert. And just for perspective, and maybe like a fun fact, Broncos are 32nd in the NFL in that red zone scoring percentage. So those guys are getting down there, but when they get down there, they can't score. I remember reading a stat earlier today that Quinnen is killing teams when they get down in the red zone. So that's something fun. I don't have the stat for you guys. I saw it on Twitter somewhere. But that's just something else that I thought was awesome to see and hear about. As far as our next key, our defense needs to get to the quarterback. I know I use this almost every video, but I think it's fairly obvious that we need to do so. The Broncos have given up 20 sacks this year. Remember the last video I said that the Packers had given up 11. What a difference. The Chargers got Russell Wilson with 4 sacks, seven tackles for a loss, and they had 12 hurries last week. And that was without their best pass rusher, or one of their best pass rushers. I know that's arguable, with Joey Bosa. I mean, I can't imagine what they would have done if they actually had him in there. For perspective, what we did against the Packers, not our Packers, we had 4 sacks, 4 tackles for a loss, and 10 hurries against the Packers. So if you kind of compare, I would say right now we might have the better pass rush than the Chargers do because of that injury they have to Joey Bosa. So I really like our chances, to be honest. Packers have a much better offensive line than the Broncos do. The Packers had 2 Pro Bowlers on it. I discussed it in the last damn video. Meanwhile, I don't. The Broncos just don't have that, and they've been struggling. So we need a repeat performance from our guys. And considering what they just did, I am very confident we should be able to do that again. Carl Lawson is getting healthier week by week. He's getting free. His pass rush win percentage. I don't have that stat. Sorry guys, I should have looked that up before I did the video. But I know that I had seen like a stat that it was increasing week by week by week. You already know what Quinnen's doing. I don't need to hit you with any damn sacks. Y'all saw what he did against the Packers. He was a human wrecking ball. God, I can't wait to see what he does on Sunday. Anyway, so I feel very encouraged by that. JFM is getting the cobwebs off or whatever. I think he kind of came a little banged up into the season. I haven't seen him on the injury report the last couple of weeks. He's been playing better the last couple of weeks. Coincidence? Probably not. Makes sense if you're playing better when you're healthy, right? That's just kind of obvious, but it's not something that we always think about as fans. We see players play hurt a lot. So we kind of think of, well, you're out there, you should ball. Sometimes it just doesn't work out like that. Anyway, the good news is he's seemingly getting better. Whatever the hell the reason is. But back to Quinnen Williams though. Pay that man. Joe Douglas. Please pay that man. When my jersey comes here in the mail, I want to know that he's going to be here for the next 4, 5, 6, 10 years, whatever amount it is. I mean, not 10 years, it's a long time. But he's been so good to this team, and I love this kid. And after seeing with this whole debacle with Elijah Moore, my respect for a kid like Quinnen who's seen nothing but losing until coming into this season, it just makes me appreciate the kid all the more. But I don't know. I'm excited to see what ended up happening with him. But yeah, I expect to see Russell Wilson on the ground and constantly. That's where he needs to be. I don't need to even see him throwing any passes. We also are going to need a great special teams performance. I'm going to keep this one simple. When our special teams plays well, we win, pretty much. Cleveland with the onside kick, the fake punt, and the great kicking from Big Z. Green Bay, obviously, y'all know what Quentin did block the kick, but then we have Michael Clemens who blocked punts and that recovery and the touchdown that ended up happening. Miami didn't have any big splash special teams plays, but we had some great punting from Braden Mann. I know people don't care, but I do. He's doing great as far as the punting is gone, as far as pinning people back there. I remember that play where Zach was pretty far back because he got sacked almost not in the end zone, but he was just way back there. And Braden's kick was like 50 plus yards. We needed that. Because if it wasn't for that, maybe the Dolphins make a little bit of a play. That stuff it's all momentum based and it's a thing. Anyway, and so yeah, so Braden Mann has been lights out. Big Z was lights out after that as well. And I know I've said this, I think, in a prior video. I don't think it was the last one, but I feel like Braxton is going to break one really soon. He just needs to get a little bit better blocking. Um, will it happen Sunday? I don't know. I feel like maybe we're coming up on one. If it's not this week, maybe next week. I would love for it to happen against New England. Or both weeks. How about that, right? Moving on. Last one is going to be offensive line needs to hold up some for Zach. I know I say this a lot, but it's key. We got to protect the quarterback. It's important. We only gave up 2 sacks last week. I believe we gave up 2 sacks the week before that, and it might have been the week before that. I feel like it's been around that number. Both those sacks actually didn't come from our offensive linemen. They came from from 101 was CJ Uzama, and I believe the other one might have been from a running back. So we need that to continue this season. My goal is for us to get down to 1 sack. I would say 0, but I won't ask for so much, right? But I feel like we could easily have a clean game. Our offensive line is gelling. Dwayne Brown and AVT at our tackle positions have been playing very well. Remember, Dwayne Brown, had come off of what, 5-week hiatus or whatever. He missed most of training camp. You got to think about that. So he was rusty coming in. He's been playing better and better. AVT, this is not his natural position, and we have him playing tackle, and he's playing very well for someone who's never played it. So not never played it, but you get the point. So, that's not his natural position on this team. Then, of course, you got Herbig, who's been playing pretty well at right guard, and Lakin Tomlinson, who was kind of hit or miss going into as the weeks have gone. I think the beginning of the season was pretty awful, but he's been building on it. I'm glad we're seeing improvement. That's what we need. He's a Pro Bowler, and we're paying him like one, so I'm glad that he's doing better. Just for those who do like PFF, I have a PFF membership, so I'm gonna use it from time to time, but I might end up canceling because there's been some foolishness with PFF. They'll learn. They'll learn about Quinnen. But anyway, I'll get off that. Lakin had the highest grade as far as blocking goes on the offensive line with a 73.7. So I'm eager to see how this offensive line as a whole does against this Broncos pass rush without Randy Gregory since he's out. So, it's going to be different there. I'm excited to see what we do. So we're going to move on next to player spotlights. First, we're going to start with our New York Jets. I have, and it's not necessarily in order, but I'm going to start with Zach Wilson. This is going to be another game where Zach is going to have to make great decisions. He's going to have to protect the football, which he has been doing. He hasn't given up any fumbles or interceptions since the Steelers game. So big keys there. I think his pass attempts are going to be limited this game just because of the prowess and the proficiency of the Denver Broncos secondary. I already mentioned it. I mean, Pat Surtain is really good. So I think we're going to be a little bit careful and conservative there, and I don't have a problem with that. We may pass it a little bit more because 18 was pretty low, but I'm not going to. I wouldn't say it would be any more than 25 attempts, no more than that, and we would just be doing that just to keep the defense honest. And I'm thinking of a stat line for me. What I would see is like 15 of 25, 175 passing yards, and a passing touchdown. I know that sounds pretty low and not what you really necessarily want to see from your quarterback, but if that's what he does and he stays clean and we win, of course, what's the problem? And the reason I have the passing yards as low as I do is because the Broncos don't give up very many passing yards at all. I looked it up earlier and it was something along the lines of low 200s. I believe let me see if I can find it really quick without working too hard. 184.5. Okay. And the Chargers have, not the Chargers, but the Broncos have played some good teams and they're limiting them to that. So that's not a slight at Zach. This is just what I kind of anticipate seeing. I would love for that to be 2, 3, 4, 5 touchdowns, by the way, with the 175 passing yards. But this is what I'm expecting to see. So I think my next person that I'm going to use, and I'll probably use every week until, well, there is no until. I hope to say him every week because he's been awesome, and that's Brees Hall. Rinse, wash, repeat. The kid is on fire. Or wash, rinse, repeat, by the way. Sorry, I said it wrong. The kid's on fire, though. He's averaging 5.1 yards per carry, 609 yards from scrimmage, which total 391 rushing yards and 218 receiving yards. That- And 313 scrimmage yard within the last 2 weeks. Tell me who is running the ball better than Brees right now. Maybe Saquon Barkley. I don't know. I don't know his numbers right now, so maybe not Saquon. I don't know. My point is he's top 5 right now. Got to be with the way he's playing football, and he's just getting started. He is just getting started. I am so excited to see what Brees does. And then when you think about what he was doing last week, he was bouncing off cats. I mean, the Packers, like I mentioned in the video before or whatever, that they give up rushing yards and all that. So it wasn't a surprise. But if you watched the game and you saw these players, like they were in good positions to tackle Brees. Brees was just wriggling free, or they were bouncing off him. He I love the way he runs the football. He's violent with it. He's physical. I like his patience when he hits the hole and then he hits it hard. Like it's just he's fantastic. I can't say enough superlatives about this rookie running back who is winning all the awards and might win another damn offensive rookie of the week this week. I would not be surprised. But maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll see. But that's who I'm going to be paying attention to for sure on Sunday, and I imagine you guys will as well. Um, the next player is someone I haven't really brought up in a while. I may not have brought him up honestly at all in this kind of a situation. So since we're down a wide receiver, I won't say he who shall not be named. It ain't that deep, but Elijah Moore is out. I'm thinking we're going to lean heavier on our tight ends. We probably were going to anyway, which might have been one of the reasons he had got frustrated and had that outburst when he's like, when they said the game plan is going to be more of the same. So, whatever. I think we're going to do a lot of 12 personnel. And one thing I've noticed from the Jets is week to week, the last few weeks, we've been going more and more. Now, every time I say more, I think of him, which is corny as hell. But we've been going to CJ Uzama. Is this going to be the breakout week for him? I think one of the reasons why we weren't going to CJ as much is because we were using him the pass block because we needed the help because we had so much attrition on the offensive line. I don't need to go into all of that. You guys know. So, with that being said, if we don't need him to block necessarily as much, Conklin's been blocking too. Maybe we have them kind of switch roles. They both seem like team players, so why the hell not? I would not be surprised if this is the CJ game. And if it is the CJ game, then he's going to get some pass attempts here. Our offensive line, like I said, is gelling, and so I could just see this happening. We'll see what CJ does. If I had to put something on, I wouldn't gamble this though. I just feel like this would be a week for that. Um, but I could see something along the lines of maybe 60 yards receiving. Now it's not a crap ton, but think about how not frequently we're passing the ball right now. So 60 yards might be like, well, not half, like a third of the yardage that we might be getting receiving wise and passing wise. So 60 yards and a touchdown. Maybe. We haven't really looked at CJ in the red zone, so I wouldn't be surprised. This might be a good week for that. And lastly, I have to put up a defensive player. It's hard, guys, because every time I think of a defensive player, I want to say Quinnen at this point because Quinnen has been so otherworldly, but I'm going to veer off the beaten path a little bit and go with another damn star on the team, Sauce Gardner. Mr. Cheesehead himself, Sauce Gardner. That cat right there. That rookie cat. That rookie guy, as my dad would say. That was for you, Pop. He's been killing it as well. Coming off one of his best games in his young career, even though the Dolphins game was probably his best statistical game. He had the interception in that and the safety that he caused with his sack. Well, damn near sack, whatever. The intentional grounding he caused, whatever you want to call it. Um, but he was otherworldly in the Packers game too. He made Alan Lazard look terrible in the plays that he was matched up against him. I just he is so skilled and he's only getting better and better and better and better. And he seems like one of those cats that plays up to the competition as well. Maybe that's why he was playing so well. Not even maybe why. Y'all already know. Sauce is good. He's been great. I already rattled off his stats in the rookie video that I did last night, so I'm not gonna go off, go read them all off. But he is, believe I said he was like top 10 or no, top 5. Damn, now I'm tempted to go look up the stat now, just of what he was doing. As far as passes defensed, I know he has 8. That's what I can tell you. He has 8 passes defensed, and that's top 5 or top 10 or something along those lines in the NFL. So, and cats are, I already noticed they're starting to throw a little bit less to him. Where I don't know if Russell Wilson is going to be the type to not throw to a rookie. These quarterbacks are gonna. These quarterbacks have a little bit of a. I'm not gonna call Russell Wilson a narcissist. That's catching that. That's taking the bait. I'm not doing that. I'm gonna say that he's very confident in himself, in which he trusts his arm and knows that he should be able to throw the ball anywhere on the field. That is what I'll say, and would not be intimidated by such a rookie to wear a cheese head hat. So that said, I think Sauce Gardner will get some opportunities from Russell Wilson. If he does, I like his chances to make some big plays with them. We'll see what he does. Hope we blitz him again. That'd be fun to see him come off the edge and smack Russell Wilson around. This is not shade at Russell Wilson, I promise. It's just let's go ahead and kick those Denver Broncos down while they're down, you know? All right. So that's what I have for the New York Jets. Now, as far as the Denver Broncos goes, as far as the players that we can't let be a menace, they can't be game breakers, anything like that. I'm gonna put Russell Wilson here. Not just because I was just talking about him, but because she should be one of the best players on this team. And I was tempted to put a skilled position player here, but Dangerous is listed as questionable and might play. So I mean, it might not play. At least that was one of the reasons why I was thinking about going a skill position way. Excuse me. Um, but at the same time, I just can't see him not playing here. I mean, he did say just a couple days ago, "I heal quickly. It's Wolverine blood." So clearly, he's a member of the X-Men. So he should play like one, right? Is he gonna play like the Juggernaut? Is that what we're gonna see, or are we gonna actually see him play like Wolverine? All that said, all the jokes aside, because I got many, many, many of them here. If Russell Wilson's able to turn back the clock and utilize Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, and Doug Dulich, I think that's how you pronounce it. This could be a tough game if those players play well and he's able to get them in their spots and make plays. I like our secondary against this kid. I mean, against him, but still, he could present some issues. He was elite at one point. Can't necessarily guarantee that it's a situation where he's not. I just know he hasn't been playing elite at all this year, based on the numbers I read you, based on the eye test as well. They tell me he's struggling. That's what I'm seeing. But any player that's struggling can have a game. So I will be paying attention to how he handles our pass rush, how he handles our secondary. He could do something. And kind of a honorable mention, even though I have 2 other players to mention before I do my honorable mention. So forgive me for going out of order. With Dulich, I am actually worried about him a little bit, just because we struggle week to week when it comes to tight ends. He might actually have a day. We didn't do so great last week with Robert Tunyon, and one of you guys mentioned that on one of my videos before, that Robert Tunyon's someone that could do some damage against us. You called it. I should have mentioned it because he's a ball. He can be a baller. He's probably the guy with the safest hands on that damn team. But I digress. We're not talking about Packers now. Forgive me for going there. So anyway, Dulich is someone to watch. We'll see what he does. But only honorable mention. The other two players I have, I'm more worried about them. Justin Simmons, I mentioned him earlier. He is an absolute dog. Okay. Last year he had 5 interceptions, 12 passes defensed, and 1.5 sacks. This season, his numbers are nowhere near that. He had a really slow start due to some injuries. He's only played 2 games. Zach is going to need to know where he is at all times to ensure that he doesn't wreck the game. That guy is a ball hawk, and ball hawking safeties still scare me a little bit when it comes to Zach. I'm starting to trust him a little bit more, but I need to see more, and I think that's fair to say. And I'm a Zach supporter, Zach defender, all those things, but I'm a realist as well. I need to see Zach continue to look off the free safety and all those good things and make sure that everybody's where they need to be or throw the ball away. I'm fine with that. All right. So, anyway, Justin Simmons. And then, of course, Pat Sertan. I have to talk about this guy. He's their best corner by far. He's top 5, top 10. I don't care where you put him. He's a damn good corner in this NFL. And it's so funny because he was ballyhooed in the draft last year. People said the same thing that they said about Sauce and um I can't remember the Texans corner. I feel bad. Oh, Stingley. There we go. But they say that about corners coming into the draft that you don't know what they're going to be able to do because corner is one of the most difficult positions in the NFL to come in and dominate. And Pat Sertan came in and dominated last year, and he's playing very well and dominating this year. Therefore, I am a little worried. Garrett Wilson was taken out by Jair Alexander last week. Because the Packers deemed him a number 1 wide receiver. Not shaded anyone, just making a point. So with that said, that means G-Dub might be taken out of the game. And that's not, I'm not mad at Garrett Wilson if that happens. That's kind of part of the learning curve and all that. He needs to play against these kind of corners so he can refine and grow his game, right? So if that does happen and we don't have G-Dub, or not able to use him, then I would consider that a win for them. My whole thing is I hope we still take a shot or two over there, even though Pat Sertan is as good as I say he is. And I'm just hoping maybe G Dub is able to still get free. That kid still can get separation. We'll see. I don't know. But whatever shots that we do take, I just want Zach to be judicious with them and make the right decision. That's all there is. But yeah, I don't want Pat Sertan to get any interceptions off Zach, period. Him or Justin Simmons. But those are 2 players that I do fear coming into this game just because they're that effing good. All right, so we're going to move on to my game prediction. So, for my prediction of the game, final prediction. Honestly, I'm expecting a low scoring game here. Again, due to my respect for the Broncos defense, they're that effing good. I said that all video long. But I think the Jets are going to be able to outlast the Broncos. This may be low hanging fruit, but it does matter. The Broncos did just play a Monday night game. Not only did they play a Monday night game, which gives them a short week, they went into overtime on top of that. Those things matter. The Jets are going to be more rested and we're the younger team too, so fresher by default. So I apply all of those things. I apply the injuries to those things. I apply the Jets kind of riding in on a high and feeling really good about themselves, even with the Elijah Moore news. One positive way to look at it, and it's just something I'm kind of taking into account. We heard that Denzel Mims is going to be playing. I probably should have mentioned that earlier on. We're talking about the IR stuff, so that's my fault. Denzel Mims is going to get some snaps. This is something the Broncos haven't seen this year. So maybe we can surprise them. Maybe we can use Denzel in some sort of, I don't know what kind of play, so don't ask me. But maybe we use him in a play and I don't know. And he does something great. One thing I do like about Mims is he is a big play threat. So even if we throw him the ball twice, if he catches them both, that might be 60 yards right there. And what we just really need him for is to just the deep threat. And Mims is a good blocker. These are all things we could kind of use. Moore isn't necessarily a good blocker. And Mims would just be happy for the snaps because he hasn't been getting any of those opportunities. He's been inactive every single week. So, with that said, I think that might actually help us out a little bit. But again, like I mentioned, low scoring game. I think with our run game, our offensive line's physicality, the factors I mentioned about them being the less rested team, short week, I think that we'll be able to pummel them into submission the way that we play defense and the way that the offensive line and running game play. And by the time the fourth quarter comes around, they're going to be tired. And that's when we take it up another level. Maybe we start passing then. I don't know. I don't know exactly how it's going to happen, but I do feel like I feel like we're the better team. We're the better team and we're going to make those plays. We're going to scheme appropriately. And maybe we use Michael Carter more in the fourth quarter. He'll be more rested. Brees in the first, kind of like how the Cleveland Browns do it, you know? They use Chubb and they beat on him and beat him and beat on him. And in the second half, then they bring in Hunt. Hunt's fresh legs and he beats on him and beats them in submission. So kind of a similar thing to that. So anyway, as far as my score, I've vacillated a lot on this, but my final score is going to be 17-10. I want to say the Jets are going to score more than that, but again, due to my respect for the Broncos, that's where I'm going. Hopefully it's 20-10. I would like that score better. That said, that's what I have for the prediction. We'll see. Okay, so for the potential parlays, here's what I've got going on. Not all of these, obviously, are going to be parlays. I just kind of like the alliteration of it all. And of course, I'm going to make my disclaimer as I do almost every video, unless I forget, because I forget stuff. Um, I am a non-professional bettor. I just enjoy the thrill of it, and I do a little bit of research, and I try and wait till Friday to make my my decisions and stuff like that, and wait for the injury reports. 'Cause that's what really helps, especially at this time of year. And just disclaimer all the way around. Guys, people are really banged up right now. I did not realize that there were so many injuries going on in the NFL. It's frightening. And, again, knocking on wood here, I hope the Jets continue where they are. That's all I'm going to say about that. Okay, done with all that stuff. Moving on. So, my first one is going to be probably the first that I'll do every year, every week, because I'm more than likely going to bet on the Jets, much to my chagrin, or maybe not to my chagrin, and we just keep getting those W's. But I'm taking the Jets to cover. I took them on Sunday after we won the damn game. I know you guys are probably laughing at me for that, but I knew we were playing the Broncos next, and I figured if the Broncos continued doing what they had been doing, and that I just felt like they were probably going to lose on Monday and all that stuff. So I wanted to get the line as soon as it happened after the Jets won. I was feeling myself a little bit. So I took them, and I think it was like 3.5 at the time. Um, so that's why I had the line there. It's moved a lot already. Now I believe it's down to 1, and depending on what apps you use, it could be down to a pick 'em. I did not check DraftKings, but I think FanDuel had it at Broncos +1. Or not Broncos, Jets +1. But I would still take the Jets again to cover. I'm going to take them on the money line when I do my bets and stuff like that later on. I also, in that same money line, not money line, but the spread bet that I did when I took the Jets to cover, I also took the Giants at the same time, just for fun. The odds were really good at the time. I do not know what the odds were, but I think it was +2.5 is what I had them at. And like I said, I parlayed that with the Jets. And I'm overall just starting to trust them a little bit more. I guess I won't say I'm a fan. Daddy, I'm not a fan. But I do support them because my dad is a fan. And I like their head coach. I like Dayball. I'm glad he's not the anything to the Bills anymore, even though the Bills are still playing well, even with Dayball being gone. Weirdness. Um, but I will say this: I got a little more scared when I was doing my research in regards to this game. I looked at injury reports today, and they are very banged up too. I didn't know Aziz Ujulari was hurt, but he's out, and Tony Jefferson is out, and then Pinnock, former Jet, he is questionable. So they're taking some hits at safety. That's a concern. Ojulari obviously is one of their pass rushers. They still have, Thibodeau, so that doesn't kill them. But it's just the point. They have some attrition there, so they're banged up, and I'm a little worried about it. But with Dayball and Wink Martindale, who I think is still not getting enough credit, I am not dismissing Dayball. You already heard me say how much I like him. But Wink Martindale was a good defensive coordinator. I do not understand why the Ravens got rid of him last year. I had just heard that there was some contention between him and Harbaugh, but I think Harbaugh made a mistake. I just think he did. I know that Wink likes to blitz a lot, but he makes great exotic blitzes. I mean, he should know how good Wink was. I mean, he had Rex Ryan before. Rex does a similar scheme. It doesn't matter. I know I'm ranting now, so forgive me here, but I still like the Giants. The Jaguars, I know the professional bettors love the hell out of the Jaguars. They love them. I just don't believe in them. So I'm taking the Giants here. That's not shaded Trevor Lawrence either. All right, so moving on here. I might be falling for the okey doke, and you guys are probably gonna laugh, but I am gonna take the Packers against the Commanders. I know Taylor Heineke is coming back. I am not a Carson Wentz fan. I actually like Heineke a lot. I love, and the people down here, they like Heineke too. So they're excited that he's coming back, and he is better than Carson Wentz. That's not even a question. But the Commanders are banged up like hell too. The Packers they're banged up a bit, but their backs are against the wall. To me, if they lose this game, that's the season because they're behind the Vikings. The Vikings are first place in the division. I do not know off the top of my head how far back the Lions are, but the Lions have lost a few games. So they're not the worry. The Bears are like 2-4. So I guess they won't lose with so much traction, but it's still a huge deal for them to play against a team that they're better than. These are the games that you have to win. The Packers got I won't even put the quotation marks. They got embarrassed by the New York Jets, right? We spanked that ass. We did. Sorry, Dad. So we did though on Sunday in the second half anyway. So with that being said, I feel like they have to come out and they have to show and prove. Maybe they go back to basics and use Aaron Jones and use AJ Dillon. I'm not going to say that necessarily that any rapport is going to be built with the wide receivers. Christian Watson's still out. Not that he has a great relationship with Aaron Rodgers, but I think he's someone that they could use more when he comes back. Romeo Dobbs, he was pretty much a non-factor against us. I don't know. But the Commanders can be thrown on. They had been prior to last week's game against the Bears. The Bears' offense is just not good, so I feel like that's why the Commanders were able to win that game. I'm just speaking on my mind here, not necessarily going full on stats. I like the Packers here, so that's why I'm taking him. I do not know what the spread was off the top of my head. So forgive me there. That's who I'm taking, and I'm taking Packers money line. I'm not necessarily worried about whatever the spread was. I still would take it both. Um, bonus because I normally do three. I'm gonna take the Browns as well. Um, +6 against the Ravens because of injury reports again. Shout out to my guy John Malika from Knicks, Jets, etc. on their show Winning Picks Weekly. Injury reports matter. You're right. Also, shout out to Greg on the on the parlay that he recommended, and I mentioned it on my last video. Apparently, we running it back. I'm here with you. Let's go. Let's go. I am right with you. So I did that parlay as well with you with the Giants, Jets, and the Seahawks. I did that today. So hopefully we get some more money. Anyway, that wasn't even what I was supposed to bring up here. But yeah, so back to the Browns. J.K. Dobbins is out. Gus Edwards is still on the IR and hasn't been activated yet. Harbaugh is playing this close to the vest. I believe they have to activate on Saturdays. And then I think, I feel like with Dwayne Brown, we waited till the last minute too, and it was a Saturday because that happened after I made my video. So remember that. Anyway, so if that's the case, especially with J.K. Dobbins out, if they don't utilize him, then all they have is Kenyon Drake. Drake had a pretty solid game last week. Well, more than solid, because I remember he was on the FedEx Ground Player of the Week that Reese won, but he was one of the little candidates on there. And he had, I think, 100 yards on not a bunch of touches. It might have been, I don't remember what it was, but I think it was like less than 20 for sure, because his yards per carry were pretty high because of it. Anyway, so I'm saying all that to say, as good as Kenyon Drake is, he's not otherworldly. He's no Brees Hall. I don't feel confident with that. Also, Mark Andrews is questionable. Also, Bateman is still questionable. Also, Marcus Peters is questionable. And then finally, maybe some of you guys knew this, but I did not. Marcus Williams is on the IR. I don't like the Ravens now. And I really do respect Lamar Jackson. Like, I get mad when people say he's just a running back and crap like that, but how you can only be but so much of a Superman, you know? I don't know if he can beat them by himself. Browns are banged up a little bit too, but not nearly as bad as what I just told you with the Ravens. So I'm going to take the Browns here for that reason, even though the Ravens are at home. And I normally would go with a home team just because I feel more confident doing that, especially against a division game. So I'm still a little worried about this, even with me telling you all the injury stuff. But that's where I'm going. Let's go Browns. I don't like you want to root for them. But moving on. All right, so that's what I got about all the parlays and the bets and all that fun stuff. As far as the player props, I know I said I was gonna do one player prop per week probably and go over that with you guys. FanDuel and DraftKings as of 1 o'clock this morning did not have player props available other than just anytime touchdowns. I'm not just doing that. I can wait a day. So I guess they're scared to set them out early. I've been able to do them on Fridays before, so they're just doing stuff. That's up to them. Or maybe they're scared of what Brees the Beast is going to do, so they need to evaluate for a little bit longer. You know what I'm saying? Let's go Brees. Anyway, but what I was probably going to do, or what I was leaning towards doing, was definitely doing some sort of player prop involving him. So probably another 70 yards and a touchdown and a money line is what I was leaning towards doing. But I wanted to see what the odds look like. Anyway, I'll probably still do it tomorrow, but that's where I would go, depending on what the odds were looking like. So now that I've repeated myself 3 times, I'm going to stop. Thanks so much, guys, for watching as always. And you made it to the end of my video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, tell a friend if you can. And have a great weekend. Enjoy the 1 o'clock games. And of course, enjoy that 4 o'clock game. And lastly here, Jets, 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 Jets. Let's get us a dub. You guys.